Hello, everyone. Welcome to our December meeting of the Tableau Public Tug, where we are spreading lots of Vizmas cheer. I know you all are going to be singing that at your next holiday gathering and gifting you all with Tableau knowledge this holiday season. We have four amazing speakers today. We have Tristan Guillevin and Wilson Po, who are going to show off the new Viz extensions on Tableau Public. We also have Rubén Martínez going over his Mastering Tableau series of Vizes, and Johansson showing us his Viz Design Catalog. Before we kick it off, just going to introduce your hosts for today. Hello, I'm Lisa Trescott. We also have Rob Taylor. Unfortunately, Priyanka Dubal had a last-minute conflict. She won't be with us today. And we also have Eric Howard. So I am Lisa Trescott. I have been using Tableau since 2017 as a research analyst at Miracosta College. I'm also a Tableau visionary and ambassador. Back in 2021, I won Iron Viz, and these are some of my favorite Viz of the days, all fun, lighthearted Vizes. I will now kick it over to Rob to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Rob Taylor. I've been using Tableau for about 10, 11 years, but only really got involved with the community in the last couple of years. And that's when my development accelerated. It's so great to be part of this huge data farm community. There's some of my fun Vizes I build on Tableau Publics for fun rather than work business dashboards for me.
Hello, everyone. I'm your swag man today and step-in host for John's segment. I'm a Tableau ambassador and Tableau speaker. Done several tug presentations and presentations at TC. So that's what I like to do. Not very active on Tableau Public myself, but I do like to do all the dirty work in the background to make it happen.
You do a lot of work in the background, Eric. Okay, so just our quick overview of our agenda. We have welcomed everyone. Next up, we're going to have Tristan Guillevin and Wilson Po, followed by Johansson. Then we're going to do our swag drawing, and then we'll close it out with Rubén. So first up, we have Tristan and Wilson. So Tristan is a Tableau visionary. He's an ambassador and the 2017 Iron Viz champion. He co-runs the remote-first studio La Data Viz, building advanced visualization products, all from KPI frameworks to a Figma to Tableau plugin and much, much more, while sharing learnings on YouTube and via his newsletter. He's also joined by Wilson, who's been with Tableau for 16 years and has worn many hats there. Right now, he helps drive efforts for visualization authoring, extensions, and exchange these days in Tableau. So welcome. I'm very excited to learn about the new Viz extensions that work on Tableau Public. So over to you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Just for the agenda, do we have 15 minutes or do we have 30 minutes? Just making sure that we can, because the agenda before was maybe showing 15 minutes, just making sure we have enough time to show everyone everything.
You got enough time to do what you want to do.
Okay, perfect. That's a perfect news. Thank you all. Welcome to this Viz extension are going public presentation. Today thank you. Today I'm with Wilson Po, who will also explain, I think, more the point of view of Tableau in how those Viz extension came to arrive on Tableau Public and all the work he had to do also to allow us to do that. My name is Tristan Guillevin. I'm the co-founder of La Data Viz, as Lisa said. Wilson, do you want to say something already right now? Just say hello, I don't know.
Hi, everyone. Of course, Tristan, I think, will be leading, a lot of the discussion around some of the new things that are coming to Tableau Public. But, I did want to make a quick introduction for myself. I'm Wilson Po. I'm product director here at Tableau. And I focus a lot on the Viz side. And of course, as of late, we've been really kind of focusing some of the efforts around what we can do with extensions. And so this has really been exciting to see as a part of, for us, kind of going full circle, testing things out in Tableau Public, coming in and really developing an idea with our community, and then, of course, bringing it back into Tableau Public as well. And so this is a nice sort of bow at the end of sort of some of our efforts right now. But yeah, we'll share a little bit more of what we've been thinking around this area, and of course, what this sort of expansion really kind of means for the platform overall that's there. But back to you, Tristan.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And I like the idea that you said that we are going full circle, because that's really the theme a bit of this presentation. And actually, I also wanted to show you that how my journey started 10 years ago, actually, also. With my very first Tableau Public visualization in 2015. And you can see that in that my very first dashboard, Tableau Public dashboard, you already see like a donut chart, right? And well, as you know, doing a donut chart in Tableau is not something that you do straightforwardly, but we are going to explore that a bit later. 2 years after my very first visualization, I won the R&Viz competition in 2017 with a visualization that didn't use any of those really nice, highly technical charts that you can see right now in Viz Extension. At the time, you had to write every single calculation in your dashboard, so you were a bit limited into what you could do. Still really proud of that dashboard. And it's only in 2019 that I started to really explore a bit my creative side, and I started to explore how can we make those advanced charts in Tableau. And since then, I have been trying to create tools or create techniques that allow you to also build those kind of visualization. So thanks to this tool and this exploration of my creativity, I became for the first time a Tableau visionary in 2020. That same year, I quit my job and I started to work as a freelance under the name La Data Viz. A few years later, Jessica Bautista, my partner, also joined me. So right now, La Data Viz is us too. And for the last 5 years, we have been developing different tools in Tableau. You may have heard of Figma to Tableau. You may have heard of Bang, AdViz that we are going to mention today, of course, and Viz Extension. So I want to just, before we really start about Viz Extension, just say a few words about AdViz, since this is the Tableau Public User Group, and this is really the tool that started everything for us. So for those who don't know, AdViz is our online tool that we created like now, I think I would say 3 years ago. That would allow you to build advanced charts in Tableau without any template or without any calculation or anything. You can just say, okay, I want to make a string graph. I select my data, I configure my stream graph, and then I click download Tableau Desktop, and I will have this advanced visualization in Tableau. It works for chord diagram, it works with tree diagram, Voronoi, and a lot of other visualization, right? So this tool, we initially created it for Tableau Public User. And if we go visit the gallery, you will see a lot of the different visualization that the people have built using this tool. I'm quite sure that if I search Lisa, I even have seen a visualization of her there, like this one with the network chart who was Viz of the day. So we were really proud of this tool. This is completely free, and we really built it for Tableau Public. This was the entire idea, is we built this for Tableau Public. Like I said, we have more than 3,000 users who have been using this tool, 300 Tableau Public visualization that we managed to find, and among them 40 Viz of the day. AdViz was really the beginning of this entire story about Viz Extension for us. And it had a big issue, and not a big issue, I would say, a big constraint that make it a Tableau Public tool and not something that anyone else could use. Because if your data did change, if you had like a new lines or new data, you will need to go on our website, put again your data in our tool, and export again the result. So it was not at all like something that you could connect to your sales data source or whatever that is refreshed frequently. You will need to always go back to your tool and export the result. So that's why it's like a really Tableau Public tool. And a lot of people say, I really like AdViz, but I would want it to be connected to my data source so I can filter, I can refresh, I can do all of that. And that's when we heard for the first time Viz Extension. And for us, it was really kind of everything that we were waiting for, right? So that we no longer needed to go through our external tool to do it. We could just build all of those nice advanced visualization directly inside Tableau. And that's going to be now the first part of the demo. I really want to do this full circle that Wilson mentioned and really explain how Viz Extension are really game changer in Tableau. And yeah, for us is really one of the best things that happened to Tableau. So quickly, what everyone knows probably is dual axis, right? My very first Viz of the day was a really funky visualization about beer consumption in Europe. And the way I did that was nothing more than a simple dual axis. I have one measure for, if I remove the dual axis, I have one bar chart on one side, and I have the tap of the beer thing on the other side. And when you do a dual axis, you have this kind of thing. The second one, the pin consumption, is exactly the same, is a dual axis with the glass, a bar chart, a reference line for the beer, and really important, a reference line for the foam of the beer. So it's dual axis, right? If you have ever done a donut chart in Tableau, you know, you have your continuous pill on one side with a pie chart, you have the other one on a circle, you put them together, tada, you have a donut chart. Most of you know how to build that, but I don't know you, but every time that I need to train or teach Tableau to a new user, the first time that I explain to do a donut, you need to put a pie chart and a circle on top of each other. They always be like, yeah, but is there no more easy way to do that? And for a long time, there was no, that's the only way. But today you have Viz extension, right? So Viz extension, you find them starting 2024.2. And if you go on your marks card, you can now add an extension. And when you click add extension, you will have access to the entire library of extensions that exist on the Tableau Exchange. And among them, you will find the donut chart. So today, if you need to make a donut chart, you don't need to do any dual axis. You can just put your segment in section, your sales in angle, and you do have a donut chart. If I put segment in color, if I put sales in KPI, I even have the center KPI. And this is not a Tableau visualization. This is a web visualization that is being rendered inside Tableau, but we really made sure that it looks and feels like any of the other Tableau visualization that you are used to have. So if I hover, I do have a tooltip. If I click, I can keep only, I can exclude, I can group my value, I can see the data. And the specificity of Viz extension is that if I click on format extension, I can change a lot of things. I can rotate, I can change the radius, I can change the padding between my element, I can change the stroke color, I can change the color, I can change a lot of things about the label and the KPI. Like you have many, many configuration options that all are linked to this extension. So first example, dual axis that used to be really useful to do donut charts. Now you can do donut charts in the extension. Let's go to a more complex example, data densification. So if you wanted to build a Sankey, I would say 2 years ago, you will have to do something like that. That is an example by Ken Flerledge. And if I open one Sankey flow, you will see that if I change from the polygon to the circle, that the way you used to do a Sankey diagram was to densify your data. And if I just remove this, you will see that I have 882 marks. So my data was densified in order to generate all of those small points in order to make a Sankey diagram. Again, today with Viz extension, you can select the Sankey Viz extension. And if we quickly add our category in level, our segment, and our ship mode, you will see we build a Sankey diagram. I can put sales in size. And again, if I go to format extension, I can change the padding between my element. I can change the node width. I can change the color. Let's just say that I don't want different colors. I just want something quite elegant like that. And since this is not a Tableau visualization, it means you can also do things that you are not normally allowed to do in Tableau. For example, move the nodes around, right? Here, I can just take the nodes, move them, and replace them wherever I want. Something that you normally should not be able to do on Tableau. Yeah, you cannot do. Let's reset the position. Okay, so this is another example of Viz extension that kind of handles data identification issue. The third level of complexity when you want to build things in Tableau was map layers. Initially, map layers was built for you to put different things on a map. So you have a country, you have a state, you have a city, maybe some even more granular option, and you can layer things up. Well, some people like Jeremy Knott, they did something like that, which is a gauge chart using map layers. And you can see on the left, that my map layers has different layers, one with a Gantt chart, one with a circle, a map. I do have a polygon, and all of that lives on a map because we have latitude and longitude. So in order to do that, you need to be kind of really good at calculating the position of the different element, it requires a lot of calculation. So you do have a lot of calculated fields in order to do that. And the funny part is it's still on a map, right? So if you unzoom, you can see that your gauge chart is living right there in the coast of Africa. So always a bit fun to see that. So you can build almost anything with map layers, but it requires you to do a lot of calculation. Now, gauge chart in the Viz extension world, much more easy. You just take the measure that you want to see, you put it in value, bam, you have a gauge chart. If you put profit, let's put profit on target just to see something, and then you have your target. And if I click format extension, there I can change how many sections do I want. If I can change the color of my section, let's just put something like that. I can change the style of my my gauge. I can change the style of my needle just with a few clicks. So you can see 2 drag and drop and a few configuration, and we do have our gauge chart without any calculation. I think that's the key aspect, is you don't need any calculation to now do advanced chart. If I take the final example of Viz, the final level, the tool that we built, at the end, this is an example of a dashboard that I built using Viz, the tool. But if you look into the detail of this network charts that was built with Viz, it's still, in the end, it was still just a dual axis in that case with, you see my circles and my lines that I just put on top of each other. So Viz was just calculating the position, but the result was still in Tableau. If I look at this one about the Latino gang, which is a bit, has really nice highlight, it was the same idea. It was just not a dual axis, but it was a map layer. So you see our latitude and our longitude and the different layers of the network for it to have this kind of nice look and feel. But it was, the result was still just a Tableau visualization. Now, with Viz extension, again, you can build network inside Tableau. So if I put my category in source and my manufacturer in target, I will have a network, right? If I put sales in size, I do have the size. I can zoom in this one to see a bit more clearly. But, and I think that's really the first time that I could see that in Tableau, it really blew my mind, is, well, since this is not a Tableau visualization, it's a D3 visualization, you can just move the nodes around and you can place them exactly where you want, and they will keep this position. I say, I want them to be like that. And if you publish, they will remain that, they will keep that position. And of course, at any point you can say, no, reset the node to the default position, and they will reset. Just making sure that still connected and everything is still going. Yes, everything is good. Last time I had an issue during the presentation, just making sure everything is good. Okay, so you see, you can move things around now with Viz extension. So really, I think is one of the best things that happened to Tableau. It really opens so many doors into the things that you can do. Radar chart was always something really difficult to build in Tableau. A lot of people have asked to have some kind of template to do it. Now you can build a radar chart with just 2 drag and drop again. You can put segment in color if you want or not. And since it's Tableau, it also completely reacts to whatever you will put in filters, but also how you sort your data. So if I decide to sort my subcategories by sales, you will see that my radar automatically sorts. And you can do all sorts of stuff with Viz extension. We also explore things that are a bit more businessy, but requires a lot of calculation. For example, like KPI cards with like the difference versus the previous period, which should change color if it's positive or negative. That usually requires a lot of different calculation. But today you put just sales in KPI, you put order date in time, and you have your nice KPI, the evolution versus last year. And if I change to months, I will have the evolution versus last month with a nice trend, line chart trend, area chart trend with rounded, like that is smooth. That I can change, of course, for a bar chart if I want, with rounded corners, right? So we added a lot of things that we think are nice to see in Tableau. And finally, just to complete our dashboard, we can also make things that are not visualization. This example is a drill down filter, which if I just put my country, region, state, and city, and I put them in detail, and I just remove that, you will see that I just created a drill down element that doesn't do anything, right? I can just click on it. But, and that's a bit the surprise, if I go on my dashboard, which is everything that we built so far, I put them in this dashboard. Then my drill down filter acts like a filter. Like it's not something pretty. It actually is a drill down filter that I can use, and I can select my different elements. So you can see. And the other thing is that my KPI is a Viz extension, right? But also if I just say I want to use this as a filter, I can now click on my different months, and it will filter the rest of my dashboards. And in my dashboard currently, I just have Viz extension, but I could have normal Tableau charts that also react to my filters. I can decide that my area chart is also now a filter, and if I click on it, it will filter the rest of the dashboard. So you can see we just built something with a really nice drill down filter, a KPI cards, a radar chart, and a Sankey that I can move around. I guess, yes, I can move around. All of that without any calculation, and in just the last 5 minutes that it took me to build it. So Viz extension for me was really the kind of a game changer, right? So if I just recap, we went from dual axis and polygons and map layers, which were historical way of building advanced chart in Tableau, which were not intuitive. You could not interact with the visualization, and you cannot build things like network diagrams, so no procedural visualization. A few years ago, we released AdViz, which was a bit more intuitive, that you can kind of see what you were building and just export the result to Tableau, but still not interactive, and mostly was not connected to your data, so you could not refresh it. To finally having these extensions, which are intuitive, procedural, you can make network, interactive, you can move things around, and connected to your data. But for more than a year, I think almost a year and a half, there was a big catch, there was a big issue, is AdViz was not, you could not use AdViz for your business dashboard because it was not connected to your data. But Viz extension, you could not use them on Tableau Public. And for how much powerful Viz extension have, for how good they are at doing advanced stuff, it was always really painful for us to say, well, you can buy them and use them on your company, whatever, but you cannot use them on Tableau Public. That was always really, really hard for us to accept. And there is a reason for that. And I just want to make this small parenthesis to also not just say, okay, Tableau did a really bad job at not putting them on Tableau Public. There is a reason why it took so much time. And I want to go from a bit beyond the boundaries of visualization to a bit breaking those boundaries and show you just a few examples of the reason why they could not just be accepted on Tableau Public just like that. So this is an example of a Tableau, of a Viz extension that I call Maybe I Should Not. And you can see we have our different, it's actually a pie chart extension, right? And I could put subcategories in color. But what I could also do is just explode my pie chart, right? And maybe augment the depth. And now if I move it around, I do have an actual in Tableau. This is a Tableau visualization, right? I can exclude, I can keep only, but I made a 3D exploding pie chart that I can move around with some really nice reflection. So really, really beautiful. But you know, maybe not something I should do and I should release in Tableau Public. Another example that I just showed last week at the DataFam Europe conference. So in the DataFam Europe conference, it made a bit more sense, but I just want to still show it to you. So this is a visualization about the sales by subcategory. And it's on a white background with a blue chart, right? Now I'm going to click Open Microphone. And if I clap my hand, you can see that the visualization changed color also depending on my voice, right? The next one is actually another example, which is the pub and bar noise index by city. The visualization is there, you just cannot see it. And this visualization reacts to the sound. So the more I speak, and the more I speak loudly, the more the visualization will show. So on the day of the conference, I asked everyone to make a lot of noise so they could see the visualization, right? So all of these examples were quite cool. Actually, they are really wow factor. People like, what did you build in Tableau? But the main reason I also built this is to show you that well, I can make visualization that maybe should not be able to do in Tableau, but I also can do some extension that open the mic on your Tableau cloud and listen to what you are saying, right? So of course I had to accept to share my microphone and everything, but it's still scary how far you can go and what you could do with this extension. So let me just stop that. So they needed to be a trust layer between what we do, all the craziness we can do in this extension, and what we can have on Tableau Public. And the two conditions that we had with the two conditions we came up with was, the number one was it needed to be hosted by Tableau. So Tableau will control the environment. They will make sure that what is published and what is trusted is safe to run. And also for us, in terms of cost, we want our extension on Tableau Public, but we probably cannot handle the cost of just hosting it for maybe, I don't know how many Tableau Public users there is right now, millions. So maybe we cannot handle the cost of millions of people using extension. And the second condition was more on our side, that we always wanted our extensions to be free on Tableau Public, but we, of course, it's part of our main business right now. So we wanted to have a way to differentiate a user that is going to use the extension on public versus Tableau Cloud and Tableau Server. And for a lot of time, this was not something we could do. We could not know if someone was using them on public or on Tableau Cloud. But what I'm happy to share today is that those conditions are finally met, and we now have Tableau Trusted Extension. And I think Wilson can explain you a bit more about the process behind the Trusted Extension and how they handle it on their side.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, Tristan. And honestly, I have to say, like, every time I see this presentation, it keeps getting better and better in terms of just the experiments that we can take, some of the ideas of how far we can go with Viz extensions in our platform. And of course, how it also just continues to highlight, right? We have a flexible system with VizQL, and that's really not going away with sort of the way that we think about sort of exploring with data quickly, but that there's a lot more sort of new technologies that can also help us present things more creatively and have richer storytelling, which is really, I think, part of sort of the DNA of sort of Tableau Public at its core. But, going back to this, Tableau, this whole Viz extension idea, I think dates back to us, oh gosh, I think maybe back to 2023 or even early 2022, when internally here at Tableau, we were starting to first really kind of cultivate some of these ideas, starting to really nurture how we want to do it, what problems we needed to go off and solve. And so, some of these developments take time for things to really catch up. I think different teams are also working on different things. And so likewise, folks want to see how things really kind of flush out in terms of seeing a new extension really get rolled out to the world that's there, what it means in terms of adoption, what types of things people are doing with it. And then likewise, one of the things that we started to kind of realize, especially towards sort of 2024 as a part of its launch is, hey, our internal processes here within Tableau around how things get approved and aligned across teams, like our own sort of visualization team and Tableau sort of Public, these systems weren't necessarily aligned. And, to Tristan's point, we really kind of said, hey, let's kind of slow down. Let's figure out what's the right thing to do for Tableau Public and for our partners. And we really kind of started to really build out some of these conditions that were there. So this was sort of a long journey in going. And I think, as some of the comments I've made in the chat already, like, we actually still have more as a part of this journey, especially because we do see this as a core part of how we think about storytelling, for how extensions can actually bridge across other programs as well. But a big piece behind here was to say, hey, what does it mean to actually scale to Tableau Public more generally? And of course, just allow for more trusted use across sort of our community. And ultimately, we kind of landed on sort of this idea of rebuilding a bit of our standard around kind of saying, hey, how does Tableau continue to have skin in the game in terms of things that people can build separate from Tableau? And of course, start to platform within sort of our platforms with Tableau Exchange or Tableau Public, but for it to have sort of an agreement around, okay, we understand how these things really work. We understand basically that they've been reviewed for vulnerabilities. And then likewise, we also are using some of the best practices that we know, coming from Salesforce now as a cloud company to really kind of secure and scale some of these solutions for the general public use that's there. So, to that note, we finally kind of rolled out some of the program or the standard out now with Tableau Exchange. You'll see some of the badging of it now actually available on Exchange. And of course, I think some of that is still evolving in the current week or so that's there. But the effective idea now is that we'll have now a general standard where things that have gone through sort of Tableau code review, testing in terms of its network boundaries, and then of course then hosted on Tableau sort of architecture. And so this is a real handshake with our own sort of development team that is going to, of course, have this elevated sort of badging and role for us within sort of Tableau Exchange, where it can be actually used more generally throughout sort of Tableau Desktop and Tableau Public across the board that's there. So moving forward, hopefully, I think as this program continues to evolve, we'll work with more partners with sort of this program that's there. We can really kind of say, hey, we can do more experiments with this, but experiments that have been reviewed and, of course, governed through sort of Tableau's internal processes that's there. The goal here, of course, is this will only grow and hopefully cover more and more of the gamut for our extensions across the board. And of course, wraps in some of our legacy sort of concepts like a sandbox as well. But likewise, I think, hopefully this will simplify kind of how extensions will be adopted across the board for us. And likewise, I think we're only building more and more tools to really kind of make sure this workflow continues to really make sense, especially as we think about how people bring content from environment to environment. And we want to really make sure we're continuing to build out some of those efforts that's there. Now, on a less exciting note, I think for the community, I do need to share this, especially representing product. It's been a little bit of a rocky start for 25.3 right now. And so there are a few issues that right now we are going to be working on in order to publish, specifically on desktop and on Tableau Public. We'll be actually publishing, I think, some known issues where some of the dials just aren't working quite yet, specifically on desktop, as well as, of course, in Tableau Public. And we'll actually be sharing some of those known issues out a little bit further around that note. We're hoping, I think, coming into the new year, some of those issues will be well addressed. But obviously, I think right now things are a little bit impacted. For just a little bit of awareness around extension use in Tableau Public, we did identify two things that I want to make sure people were aware of. One thing is a little bit more long-term, which is where right now extensions require the allow access permission in order to use. And so we do want to make sure that authors are thinking about that permission. And there's a relevant sort of a setting, of course, with that when folks are using it in their own sort of Tableau production environments as well, related to workbook permissions that's there. The other issue is more sort of short-term, as I kind of mentioned as well, which is where users right now do need to log into Tableau Public in order to see the Viz extension loaded. That's a more short-term bug that I think the team has a hot fix in order to resolve, I think, in the short term. That we're still, of course, awaiting a little bit of a release plan to get out to the world, but hopefully we'll have some more, public notice around that. And of course, we'll use some of those vehicles to keep everybody up to date as to when those fixes will get out to the world that's there. But functionally speaking, as Tristan kind of just showed here, things are working on Tableau Public. As long as things are, of course, a Tableau trusted Viz, they are automatically allowed for use now in our environments. And we finally straightened out our process, which was a lot of meetings, a lot of documentation, but feel free to definitely reach out. I'm always happy to chat. This is one of those areas where, going back to kind of how I started with Tableau back in 2009, I remember Christian was always talking about really kind of making sure that visualizations and storytelling was something that we wanted everyone to be able to do. And, we're still on that mission all these years later. So if there's things that we can do better in this regard, definitely reach out. I'm always happy to, of course, work on some of those ideas that will help us align with sort of those intentions. All right. I think with that said, I'll turn it back to you, Tristan. Yeah.
Thank you, Wilson, for your perspective. So yeah, I think the Christmas holiday announcement, gift, early, whatever you want to call it, is that all of our 17 extensions that we built are now available on Tableau Public and Tableau Desktop, are 100% free. So you can use them on those two platforms for free. They are available now. So if I just go to, just to show you, if I go to Tableau Desktop, and I can go to Add Extension. Speaking of those two buttons, you do have now Trusted Partner and Works with Tableau Public that are available. So if you use those two, you will find all of our extensions there that are available for you to use. The only caveat that Wilson mentioned is somehow on the latest Tableau release 2025.3, those trusted partner extensions are not loading. So you can still use them and publish them on Tableau Public. Just make sure to use 2025.1 on 2025.2. But apart from that, you can now just go and use the Globe Pass extension. And I think this one is really kind of straightforward to use. You have your source and your target, and you just have a globe chart. That if you go on Format Extension, you can show movement. And as I was showing, this is the result in Tableau Public being published and fully functional. Yeah. So yeah, that's the. If you want to know more about this extension and participate to those development, I encourage you to join the Tableau Developer Program. If you want to follow our work, what we do, and when maybe we will, of course, let you know when those the existing issue are fixed. We will share it on our newsletter that you can find in this QR code. And yeah, everything, all the extensions that you saw today were built by Jessica and myself at Data Viz. And I, of course, want to thank Wilson for helping us with the trusted extension part. And thanks for all the hosts of the Tableau user group. Thank you a lot. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both. I think Wilson has answered most of the questions in the chat. I didn't see any go unanswered. Rob's in the chat calling you La Data Clause, by the way, Tristan, and it feels very appropriate for the Vizmas season. So thank you both so much for being here, for everything you've done to bring this to life on Public. I think we're all incredibly excited about it.
Thank you. And I cannot, like Lisa, I cannot wait to see how you are going to also make use of them. I've seen all of your work with AdViz. So if there is any way we can make them better for you to, again, be so creative as you are, please let
thank you. Yeah. Once I start playing around with them, I'll let you know.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hello. That was great. Thanks, Tristan and Wilson. But yeah, now I'm excited to welcome Rubén Martínez, who's based in Barcelona. He brings a unique blend of environmental science expertise and data visualization skills. So Rubén's been over 7 years at the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, and he's mastered the art of transforming complex climate and sustainability data into actionable insights. So his recent Viz of the Day recognition, it definitely showcases his talent for creating practical and reusable visualization patterns, which today he's going to be sharing one of these great resources, his KPI collection, the one that won Viz of the Day. And it's great because it shows how to bring those components together to build clearer and more effective visualization for decision making. So Rubén, over to you to share your great Viz of the Day with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And now I'm in a tough spot after presentation by Tristan, especially showing up KPIs. Yeah, as Rob said, today it's going to be a presentation about KPIs. So it's great to be here, and thank you for joining in. So for me, it's a real pleasure to be in this session, and I'm looking forward to share this bit of the creative process that goes behind a visualization like this. The presentation is called Inside the VOTD, a design story in 3 chapters. And the idea is that I will take you backstage and show you how this award-winning visualization was built, how the story came together, the design choices that shaped it, and also some of the practical steps that brought it into life. So let's begin. Before we begin, however, let me set expectations by clarifying some of the things that we won't be discussing today. First, this is not a session about any complex or sophisticated calculations beyond basic sums, subtractions, and a percentage of change. The entire visualization uses just 3 simple LODs and 2 quick table calculations. Here we have the 2 LODs that I use to grab the first and last order per year using fixed, date trunc, and min-max functions, so nothing fancy. And a third LOD to just capture the latest year of the dataset. Regarding table calculations, again, just 2 very simple ones, running total calc for latest year and previous year sales that we will use in a graph later on. And that's it. That's the extent of all the complex calculations in this visualization. Another thing that we won't be talking about is any quick design tools like those fabulous extensions by Tristan or other resources like reusing dashboards or dashboard builders. Here you have just 2 examples, a dashboard template by Anastasia and a builder by Adrian. But as probably you know, there are plenty of resources online, so choose your pick. Those resources, of course, are especially useful for real case scenarios where speed and minimum viable product are a priority. But today we will be focusing on a more hands-on approach to dashboard design. And finally, I will not do a live demonstration on Tableau. Just let me tell you why. Because I think, in my opinion, there are other aspects that are as important, or if not more important sometimes, than the actual step-by-step inside Tableau, and I want to address them properly. And second, as many of you might already know, there's a known screen resolution conflict between Tableau's user interface and a 4K display monitor, which is my setup. And if I set the window scaling so that Tableau renders the visualization correctly, the user interface in Tableau becomes absolutely tiny. So it's not ideal for an online session. A quick word about interactivity, because it's an aspect that was asked by the organizer of today's session. Today, the visualization has no interactive elements. There's no dynamic zone visibility, no parameter actions, nothing. But you can definitely find plenty of examples of interactivity in my Tableau public profile in this series, the Mastering series Tableau. I've done things with the dynamic zone visibility, like this one, to create a mobile layout, using as well parameter actions to select the date and arrange for analysis dynamically, or using set actions in this case to build a 3-level interactive drill down. So if you want interactivity, you can go and check my public profile. So, all right, with that out of the way, let's move into what we will actually be discussing today. And first of all, let us spend a couple of minutes familiarizing ourselves with the visualization. As I said, this is the second installment of a long-running series called Mastering Tableau. And this particular visualization focuses on color encoding for KPI cards. As you can see, it's organized into 9 different windows. The first one explains the color logic, which operates along 2 axes. We have latest versus previous year data, which are represented by black and gray color hues, and positive and negative change, which are represented by blue and red hues. We call it blue, we can call it green, but according to Name That Color online tool is blue, so I will keep calling it blue. Positive and negative in this case refers to the difference in sales between those 2 periods. Then the remaining 8 windows actually applies that color logic across different chart options, and each one follows a familiar KPI card structure, where you have at the top of the card, you have the descriptive title and date range in this case, a big aggregated number displaying latest year sales, a secondary, let's call it smaller aggregated number to display previous year sales, and the percentage of change indicator, which links the 2 of them. At the bottom of each card, you find the graphs that display a year worth of data at a monthly granularity level. 4 of those graphs focus on latest versus previous, so that's black and gray. And the other 4 focuses on the percentage of change, so positive and negative blue and red colors. With all that in mind, I will pause for a few seconds so you can take another look at the visualization in silence. All right, I hope that gave everyone a moment to explore the Viz. Now, the rest of the presentation will look at how all these pieces came together, the series planning, the inspiration behind it, and the design decisions that give this visualization its personality. So the agenda for today, first we have the introduction, which we already covered, and the 3 chapters of our design journey. The first chapter, we will look at the Mastering Tableau series and how to build a consistent vision across multiple dashboards. While in the second chapter, we will explore the visualization structure and story, which are the foundations for all design choices. And in the third chapter, we will take a look at the wow factor, not as big as Tristan's, but still, let's take a look at the wow factor of those small and intentional design details that elevate the final result. So let's begin with the chapter shaping the series. So when I started this project, it's quite a big one. Always a big project requires to make a few strategic choices from the very beginning, because without them, it's really easy to lose direction. And once you adopt some guiding principles, everything becomes much more clear. And I wanted to share with you the 4 principles that I adopted. First one, go public. Of course, sharing your work openly can feel intimidating at the beginning, but it really accelerates learning greatly. Second, trying to keep a weekly schedule. In that way, I try to force myself to put something up every week to keep progress and momentum. And I say that knowing exactly that this week I still have to publish. Then choosing an overarching leitmotif. For some people, might be data or technical stuff, but in my case, I wanted to focus this series on design because it's an area that I really enjoy and I want to become better at it. And finally, what I call easy data, which basically means using Superstore. Except for some particular dashboards, I exclusively use Superstore data without any modifications, because that way it's about Tableau, it's not about data prep, and it makes the dashboards accessible for everyone, especially for beginners. Okay, so once I adopted those strategic guidelines, of course, there's an additional step. I needed to build a framework, like a supporting structure for the entire effort. And to come up with it, I thought about answering these 4 questions. Why I was going to start the series, what is the core of the series going to be, how would I develop the series, and who the audience for the series would be. And the answer for the first one, it's really easy. It's because I wanted to develop and improve my Tableau skills. I was going to do that by exploring main features and techniques of the program, but there's more specifically focusing on 8 fundamental themes, like working with dates, KPIs, dynamic zone visibility, map layers, etc. But not only that, I wanted to include some additional chart exploration beyond simple bar and line charts. And finally, the audience. I wanted to appeal to both seasons and newcomers to data visualization alike. Okay, so at this point, I had the supporting framework. I had my 8 themes, of which I decided to create 3 visualizations for each one. And as I mentioned, I also wanted to include some more advanced charts that I decided that I would include every 4th iteration of the regular dashboards. And that brought the total breadth of the series to 30 visualizations. As you can see, it's still an ongoing process. There's still quite few dashboards to finalize the series. But today we will be focusing on the second installment, as I said before, the color coding for KPI cards. So once I had the overall structure for the series, I want to talk for a moment about how to create a consistent feel and look for the series, like a visual blueprint for consistency. And for that, I built a layout template that includes 4 key elements. Using the visualization as an example, those elements are the series title. This is actually, as a note, this is actually an illustration that I created in Illustrator to make sure that the font combination I wanted to choose was going to be rendered correctly later on, instead of relying on fonts in Tableau. Then we have a summary text that basically explains the visualization, the main canvas, of course, and a footer for credits, data source, and authorship info. and some additional examples using the same layout template. We have the title series, we have the description, the canvas, and the footnote. The idea here is that the template helps keeping the visual language of the series very cohesive, instantly recognizable, but also allows to focus my energy mainly on the content and not rethinking every time about the framing. Okay, so now we have all the elements that basically shape the series. So let's continue with chapter 2, setting the stage for the visualization. Now, before designing any visualization, whether it's a production-ready dashboard or a creative exercise, whatever, you always need to ask a fundamental question: what is the visualization story? In this case, I wanted to explore 3 nested ideas. The first one, it's how powerful color can be when used correctly. The second idea is the importance of a good layout design that allows color use to properly guide the user's attention. And the third one is that being intentional about design, is the basis of everything else. And let me pause for a moment here because I think this is important. If there's one idea I would like you to take home, is that good design, it's not an accessory. It's exactly how insight and understanding happen. I mean, I'm sure that we've all seen dashboards that had, the right data, the right research, the right insight, etc. But when it came to visualization and delivery, they missed the mark. There's no consideration for the audience. There's no intention behind the design. Sometimes they feel even like haphazardly done. I know that time pressure is real, of course, but sometimes there are simple design aspects like clean and clutter-free layout, or consistent color use, or thoughtful alignment and use of white space that often do more to communicate your message than complex charts. And today's example is exactly that. It's intentionally simple. It's using fundamentally just 2 colors or 2 combinations of 2 colors that can greatly improve the user's understanding and move them to take action. So once the story is clear, I always look for inspiration, even if I have already some visual cues in my mind. In my case, the overall design inspiration for the series comes from Aurélien Voltaire's excellent design language. Here you can see some examples of his free newsletter. If you don't know his work, please check it out because it's really good. His style, it's modern, minimalistic, and thoughtful, and it's quite an inspiration for me. So after deciding about the general visual language for the series, I looked for additional inspiration, in this particular case, focused on KPI cards. And of course, I don't have to tell you how good Tableau Public is for inspiration. Here are just a few visualizations that inspired me for today's dashboard, among many others. On the left, you have KPI cards visual by Anastasia and some Superstore executive scorecards by Alice McKnight. And on the right, there's 18 ways to display KPI by Andy Kribel. And for full disclosure here, not only I get inspiration from his Tableau Public profile from Andy, but I'm also part of his Tableau learning program, Next Level Tableau, of which I'm a student, but I have no further affiliation other than that. Okay, so now we have the general language, we have our inspiration. Let's start building the graphs and of course the visualization. And the main building blocks, of course, are the graphs. As you can imagine, there are endless possibilities when it comes to displaying data for 2 different periods. However, I wanted to focus on graphs that feel familiar, that they are clean, and then that they have an easy to read and low cognitive load on the user to facilitate interpretation as much as possible. That's why I focus on these 8 graphs. Very simple. I'm sure that all of you have seen it more than once. Bar in bar, parent target, simple bars, dumbbells, etc. So the focus was going to be the color, not the complexity of the graphs. Okay, so we have the story, we have the inspiration, we have the building blocks. Now let's go and build the Viz. And that is our final chapter. We will turn our attention to some practical crafting aspects and those design details that make the visualization come alive. All my vizes start with a very quick, low-tech, and low-fidelity sketch. And by very quick, very low-tech, and very low fidelity, I mean exactly that. Those are real sketches that I did for the series. As you can see, it's pen, paper, and some rectangles. Not even all of them have a sketch of a graph. It's literally rectangles. You can see that, of course, in this series, it was going to take me several months to complete. I leveraged the common layout to print out a template, but this is not something that you need to do every time. Of course, it was just in this particular occasion. I felt that it was going to help me to visualize better the proportions and the space distribution for the canvas. But in any case, grab some paper, grab some pen, and start sketching. Now, once you have a sketch, it's time to start creating the elements inside Tableau. Here I wrote down clean the rust. This is an idea that I heard in an interview from Ed Sheeran. And the idea is that he said that when you first attempt to write a song or write a novel, or in our case, to build some graphs or dashboards, our first attempt, of course, they're not going to be perfect. They probably are not even going to be good. But he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that they help you to get rid of the rust of the pipes before the clean water can come out, something like this. The idea is very clear. Create your first versions of your big aggregated numbers, the first version of your graphs. It doesn't matter if they are perfect. Just start somewhere, and you will have a starting point on your road. Then the next step is about refining and repeating them. Creative work is often iterative in nature. So you can play with currency signs. You can make them smaller so they don't distract as much. You can play with the color of the previous year label, but in this case, it becomes harder to read. So take steps, further steps to improve readability, and you make sure that, okay, I still want to use the gray for the smaller aggregated number. Once you settle with the text sizes, the distribution, the colors, etc., it's a matter as well of including this color code for the percentage of change to reflect either growth or contraction. And a similar process as well for the graphs. Start removing always visual clutter like grid lines and unnecessary borders. Then make sure that, for instance, your labels are readable in their final size within the dashboard. And finally, apply the desired color encoding option for each graph. And it's important to remember, don't get carried away, because refining and polishing it can become addictive sometimes, and it's easy to lose track of time. At some point, you have to stop. Another element that I wanted to highlight is when arranging KPI cards or any dashboard for that matter, always leverage container and blanks. Again, this is very critically important, or depending on your specific time pressure and deadline, because the more precise you want to be arranging your elements, unless you use a Data Viz extension, the more time you will spend on it. Personally, for me, sometimes when I want to avoid being trapped in a labyrinth of nested containers and spaces that I don't know anymore which one is which, I tend to use color blanks as placeholders before I insert actual content. So, for instance, for today's visualization, I spent some time playing with blanks and containers until I had a layout that I liked before replicating across 8 different instances of each card. Let me show you what I mean. This is the card of the final version of one of the cards, and below you can see the same exact distribution of elements, but using placeholder blanks. And I had at this point during the creation of the visualization, I had exactly that arrangement inside Tableau. In that particular case, blue blanks represent content, so graphs, text, titles, etc. But also you can see a couple of smaller orange ones here and here that are kept in the final visualization just to nudge the content in the position exactly as I wanted. When it comes to containers, of course, it very much depends on your situation. In that particular visualization, each KPI card has just 3 containers, a couple of vertical ones, which are the orange, and an horizontal one, which is represented here on blue. Here I'm showing you just to have a better feel for how I organize the content on the card. Okay, so now it's the time to really unleash the color. In those next few slides, I will take you on the journey about how I chose the color palette, how I tweaked it, how you can develop it to accommodate different visualization scenarios, how to import it into Tableau, and how to implement it in the visualization. So of course, the first step, go to your favorite online resource to browse and generate and tweak as many color palettes as you want. There are many places, of course, but the one that I tend to use is this color designer by Vijay Banas, and I hope I'm not murdering his name too much. And here you can find multiple tools to build a color palette, like color palette generator, color mixer, gradient generator, etc. You have plenty of things to test, iterate, and tweak as much as you want. Second, since I was planning to do a long-running series, I wanted to see how those potential palettes would look like with a slightly higher degree of fidelity. Which doesn't mean necessarily to create a dashboard on Tableau. In my case, I prepared a quick sketch with PowerPoint, some rectangles that look like graphs, and applied those different color palettes to all of them. I did that to just have a better feeling of how those different palettes would look like in a more dashboard-like environment, just not only on the website. And in this particular case, for Mastering Tableau series, I chose this color palette. So we have a complementary light blue and a yellow hue, but also a red color for highlighting elements or negative values, something that can be used as an attention grab. So once you have the basic colors, it's the moment to develop the palette. And what I mean by developing the palette, you want your palette to cover different potential visualization scenarios. So we had 3 basic colors, but I needed more. I needed colors or variations of those colors for shading, for highlighting, for different scenarios that when you develop it, you still maybe have no idea how it's gonna be applied, but definitely you will need at some point. So the first thing is to add like a gray color, this Tableau gray color from the standard palette, because it kind of fits very well in the entire palette. But also I wanted to have a neutral and very light color for the dashboard backgrounds. And also to complete the palette, of course, I used the same online tool to generate darker and lighter variations of each color, and also to be consistent. A final step for me was to generate a monochrome palette. I know that Tableau has the Seattle gray, but the hues really didn't fit with this particular palette. Another important aspect here, you can see the hex codes for the color. So let's discuss for a moment how to import the palette into Tableau. Probably most of you know this tool, this color tool for Tableau. It's a website that automatically generates the Tableau preference file output once you've defined your custom palette. And at this point, you can literally copy into the clipboard, open your preferences file, and which should be in your Tableau repository, and copy the code there. And then you have your palette directly available in Tableau. If you want a more detailed tutorial on that, please go online, because I'm just skimming it very, very quickly for today's presentation. Another crucial aspect is always check that your color palette is colorblind friendly. There are many online tools that can help you with that. I tend to use this tool. It's called Viz Palette by Elijah Mix and Susie Liu, and it's a really, really comprehensive website that allows you to check both visually, but also through a color report, if you have some conflicts or major issues with your colors for different situations, whether it's no color deficiency, under deuteranomaly, protanomaly, protanopia, or deuteranopia. So with this tool or any other, just always check that the color combinations that you want to use are color blind friendly. Okay, so what we did so far, let's recap for a second. We created a recognizable layout. We decided the story. We created our graphs and big aggregated numbers. We refined them. We worked on our color palette. We checked that it's color blind free. And we are reaching our final step, which is to apply the palette to your graphs. Here, always assign colors with intent. This is a simple yet sometimes complex idea. Colors are not decorations. They should be a carrying meaning. And to illustrate that, I will focus on 3 different graphs. And I want to apologize for the slide loss in image resolution quality in the next slides, because I wanted to zoom them out really big so you can clearly see every element. As I said, we will focus on those 3 examples, a bar in bar to see latest versus previous on the top left corner, a bar and target to see positive and change of red and blue application, and the bottom one, which is a dumbbell chart to see both color axes combined into one chart. So for our bar in bar, we want to apply the darker hues or black to our latest year to all the relevant elements, which would be in this case the narrower bar and the big aggregated number, and keeping the light gray for previous year and also the big aggregated number that refers to previous year. For those of you who are a little bit more eagle-eyed, probably you've seen that the gray in the bar and the gray in the title is not exactly the same. This can happen sometimes, that you apply super consistently your color palette and maybe some of the text it's difficult to read against a white background. Then it's a matter of tweaking it a bit. In the positive or negative color case, again, we applied the positive change to those bars where the sales of the latest year are higher than the sales of the previous year, which in this case are represented by horizontal black bars, and also to the percentage of change, of course. And conversely, we apply the red color to those bars which we have lower sales in current year than in previous one. For a final example, we have a combination, a little bit of everything. Black and gray for representing latest and previous year sales respectively in the dots. Blue bars represents months where latest year sales are higher than previous year sales. And those red bars that represent the opposite situation. So you have a little bit of everything. And with that, we are at the end of our design journey. So let me end up with a quick recap of the main steps that I'm sure that will help you to plan your next great visualization. Always plan your visualization and keep in mind what story you're telling. Use low-tech tools to sketch and also iterate inside the Tableau until you're happy with the result. Be always very thoughtful, deliberate, and intentional when it comes to use colors. And also, again, pay attention to details like alignment, font size, white space, but always keep a balance between getting a great and polished design for impact and other time constraints. And with that, thank you very much for your time. You can check out my Tableau Public profile, and also feel free to reach me through LinkedIn or directly into the email.
That was brilliant, Rubén. Thank you very much. I've gone through most of those projects you've created, and they are fantastic. The accuracy and consistency you've got across them. And I think that presentation you've just gone through for either someone new to the data world or someone who's been around a while is so correct. All those things you need to master to make sure you get a Viz perfect and working well. Quick question from me. Out of all the ones you've created, all of those different series, which one was the most challenging, and why was it challenging for you?
On the top of my mind, my most challenging probably was in terms of keeping track of everything, probably the one that resembles a mobile device.
Yeah.
Because that's dynamic zone visibility, which means a lot of containers inside. Like there's quite a lot of containers in that visualization, because it's not only the visualization itself, it's the entire dashboard, which includes, you know, the title, the text, etc. So people can download and it's open to, you can play with it, so you can check how many containers there were at some point. So in that particular case, I mean 100%, I used blanks everywhere before starting to insert any content, because it was really difficult to keep track of everything.
Definitely. Always wise when you put a container in to chuck a couple of blanks in it straight away, just to keep track of where you're actually putting things. But no, yeah, thank you very much, Rubén. That was fantastic. Thanks. Hopefully everyone got a lot out of it. Eric, is it back to you now?
It is. Lisa had to jump off, so I am taking over. Let me start this. I've got to start my screen share first and do that. There we go. We've got our swag drawing. So let's get to that. Real quick, who's going to win a $50 gift certificate? Raphael. It looks like it's Raphael. Congratulations. I hope you're still on, and email me tableaupublictug@gmail.com, and I will set you up with the swag. So up next is John Johansson. He's going to, John's a senior associate at the in analytics solutions at JP Morgan Chase, a BI leader with 11 years experience, 2 Viz the Days, and is a Data Fam Rising Star in 2025. He specializes in team enablement, standardized practices, and has experience with Alteryx and Tableau solutions. And he showcases reusable layouts and components that speed up clean, consistent dashboards, something I'm sure a big corporation like JP Morgan Chase can take advantage of. One of my first questions for you, John, is do you get access to those Chase Sapphire Lounge for free?
No, I do not. That would be nice. That'd be a nice benefit.
Oh man, okay.
So I'm here to share my Viz Design Catalog that one Viz of the Day a couple months back. I think it had some good interest from a lot of people, and a lot of people reached out, had a lot of questions. I've demoed this a couple times externally, internally, so happy to share this with you and talk in details about what went into this. Okay, so a little bit about me. I currently live in Dallas. Enjoy doing, things with the family. I was baseball, kayaking, going to the great outdoors and camping. I've actually been working in analytics for over 11 years. Been developing in Tableau since 2026. 2 times the Viz Day author, Data Fam Rising Star as of this year. And I've always been an advocate for personal growth and development, because I kind of learned Tableau on my own and also collaborated with other developers to learn. I actually started my career in geography and GIS studies, and then kind of pivoted into BA reporting and product management. As Eric mentioned, I'm currently a senior associate of analytics solutions at JP Morgan Chase, providing solutions to all of our clients and internal stakeholders. But like I said, I've been working in analytics for over 11 years now. I have a background in GIS, geography, and kind of been working with, I would say, a variety of data sets. So it's been an interesting career, I'd say. To give you some flavor for like my current portfolio, here are some of my Vizes that I'm kind of proud of and what I've tested out so far. I have some that are related to sci-fi, some that are related to baseball, US presidential elections, and be able to build out those hex maps. So Tableau Public's kind of been a place where I've been able to test new things out and learn new things from other developers. I've never necessarily needed to build a radio, but I learned how to build it just to get that understanding and concepts to build those Tableau calculations and use those parameters that help me to build other things that are more practical in Tableau. So, why did I do this? What was my inspiration for building this Viz Design Catalog? Well, the first thing is I've always had this idea to build just a generic portfolio design concept. And then Tableau kind of rolled out this new functionality where you can actually organize your Vizes. So in doing this, I was able to showcase all my design catalogs on one row. With this, what I wanted to do was showcase my developer capabilities all in one dashboard rather than having, a slew of 20 or plus dashboards out there with all different aspects. I could really point this to like hiring managers, other developers, like, hey, if you really want to see like design capabilities, look at this one dashboard. There's some navigations between the 4 pages. You can see the different bars, charts, pies, different capabilities of all the dashboards that I can create out there. And really, honestly, this kind of created a repository of charts for me to go back and leverage, because I was always like doing development work, and I was always had the idea, well, what did I do that one time? And I have to go back and pull up an old workbook from see how I built out that one specific solution that I did that one time and bring it into the solution that I need to do today. This also makes this accessible for other developers to learn, download, dissect, and be able to really take what they need to out of this Viz and learn how to do it themselves. This also helps, make the next career jump. If you have a portfolio or existing dashboards out there, hiring managers and other people kind of see that, and we'll see what's exposed online. In addition to inspiration, a lot of these Vizes I actually didn't like create myself, or like they weren't originally my original thought. A lot of these I've learned from other developers online. So here are like 2 examples where I learned how to actually build like a comparison bar from Brittany and the L bars from Sal Patlat. That y'all may all seen a couple of these out there. A lot of these Vizes that I would say 50% of what I've learned has been on the job, while 50% has been online, using Tableau Public to explore what's going out there, what's coming new, what are other people coming up with, what are the new hacks that we can leverage to build out new solutions and new developments that I can personally use or take in and understand. So here's the Vizes that I have came up with. As you can see, there's about 85 different variations of charts. A lot of these are bars because, as we all know, those are the most practical ones to use. Those are the most easy ones to relay information quickly. So you can see there's a good amount that went into this. This is like a 4-page navigation. What I tried to focus on here was design concepts. How much do there's kind of like 3 steps to it. How much do I currently know? How much do I know with some research, and how much can I learn to build these out? I didn't initially know all these at the beginning. I'd probably say I knew about maybe at least 50 of these and how much I developed out. This also, I will say, was kind of a consolidation of training material that I worked up over the past 2 years. And then I just consolidated together, built in new aspects to it, really kind of defined what groupings and categories these should go under, and also learned some new things that were kind of like coming new, like those L bars or those comparison bars that I just mentioned. So the following design concepts that I wanted to focus on for this was just general design concepts, like put the story aside, see how can you actually build out these designs with the data. I will say I'm using Superstore data to build all this. So this is really kind of goes far that you can really build any dashboard or any chart with any data. You can't really be restricted with what data you have. It's just being able to understand how do you build that. Even if there's data restrictions, you can really do a lot. Tableau gives you the capabilities to do that. The other aspect is color, spacing, padding, and some of the navigation functions that I use to kind of create a navigation between these 4 pages. So the next thing I'll actually bring up Tableau. We can go into some of the design aspects and go into the details here. Okay, so as I mentioned, looking at this is page 1 where we have a couple different charts here. You can see we have KPIs, bars, pies, lines. When I was even building this out, I kind of realized that there are some like even gray areas as far as how you define charts. If you look at percentage charts, like we have these are all actually bars or a gauge or a waffle chart. These percentage bars, like which we think of like pies or these one-off charts, these are really bar charts. But going into the design concept, so one thing I did want to touch it. Here's kind of like a demo version that we can talk through. I wanted to show some different variations and what I really thought could be different for like different variations of charts. So at the top here, we have different varying KPIs where I'm like Rubén, I'm using different containers to allocate different charts and consolidate those together. There's 3 different versions here of like a KPI chart showing sales, all showing the same information, but also showing differing information. As well as when you look at the bar charts here. So we have bars, areas, comparison bars, bars and candlesticks. You can see that this is all based off the sales information that is from Superstore. You can see that they differ in some way, but it's just different ways to represent the information. So I would almost even say that when you're looking at bars, trying to show what's the best way to represent this, a lot of these bars and charts and even like data metrics can be interchangeable, especially like bars and area charts. There's 2 different varying ways to show the information and present it. What is more, dissectable for the user? How do they want to see that? So like we have bars and area charts, comparison bars, and bar and candlesticks. This is one way of showing, when you're looking at this comparison bar, you can show the current year versus the prior year. Here's another way of doing this with a bar and candlestick. You can show a long ways bar and candlestick and show the difference and get details of that as well. Something that I also like to present is not a lot of people like pie charts. I think a lot of us may have heard this before. Pies kind of get a bad vibe, I would say sometimes. So there's a different way of showing actually pies that shows the same as information. So you can actually have a pie chart. We have donuts as well that we're all familiar with, but there's also percentage bars. This is just a long drawn out pie chart, gives you representation by the percentage. You can even bring in monetary values or other attributes that are necessary. And then there's a third stance. There's like a waterfall, which also is another way of showing a pie chart or a percentage bar in a, I would say, less casual way. Okay, so one thing I do want to get into is showing the container system that I use. This is like a little similar to what Rubén has mentioned earlier. But in this Viz Design Catalog, what I like to use is containers are very helpful and help me organize as well. They can get nested and convoluted, but it's an organized mess. I always tell people. So what I like to use is typically called like a vertical container system. And so what I'll have stood up is a vertical container system going down from bottom to top. So I'll have within that container system, we'll have some consistent blanks, but we'll have the title at the top. And what I'll typically do is use this fixed height. This helps place the containers and make sure they don't move based on when the new data comes in, or if you pull or drop other charts. It's flexible for long-term use. So what I'll typically do is have a title at the top, sometimes have some KPIs, and then also have some blank space. You can see I have a blank space with a white bar, blank space with a gray bar. And then I'll have my base what we're trying to represent with the charts and details that most people have their interest at. In this bar chart, in this like base layer, I have a vertical container with each one of these white bars that have so for KPIs, bars, pies, and so on. I like to use a lot of padding. I get pretty detailed as far as my padding and attributes to get shown. So what I'll typically do is for the overlapping viz, I'll have like padding on the left and right. And then within the containers, I'll have some separations between the horizontal containers. And within that, you can even see here's where we have the name. We have another blank for a separator and another container that shows the different KPIs. So KPI 1, KPI 2, KPI 3. You can see there's vertical containers here. That's just because sometimes when I build out these vizes that we have one chart that's really 3 to 4 charts that are grouped together. And in going into that, as far as grouping multiple charts together, one thing I like to show is this population chart. It's kind of a fun chart to use. If you're comparing two different things, you'll typically see this with census data, but you could also use it to compare different years, prior year to current year. This is actually built using 3 different charts and some text layers as well. So as you can see, we have a worksheet here that builds out the current year. So in this, I'm comparing current years and prior years. I have the current years of sales that I'm dropping in and separated by color with region. So that makes out the left-hand side. Same thing for the prior year, but we're looking at the prior year where we have actually take the prior year sales and give it a -1 value in the calculations. This is so you can show 2 different comparisons. Like I said, this is like a population chart or a tornado chart that some people call. And then within the middle, what we have is a detailed value where we're only representing what the values actually mean. So we have it broken down by region, where I'm just bringing in the region text and applying a minimum 1 text value, kind of just like how you'll typically do this. If you're not familiar with, you can type min1 aggregate, and rather than create an actual field for this, just creates an ad hoc value. And you can use these kind of everywhere in Tableau, columns, rows, or even any of the cards as well. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to go into would be the hex map. I'm sure a lot of y'all seen these out on Tableau Public. What I typically like to do is I try not to alter the data source too much or bring in these ad hoc joining cards. What I'll typically do is try to build it all in calculations so that I can reuse it for any data source or any application that I'm trying to approach in Tableau. I'll make these hexes a little bit bigger and show you a representation of how I've actually done this. This is a hex map. This is typically done on a grid system. Some people use these as layer maps. I'll show what I'm currently doing here. So I have a hex map built out, and I'll just show you what I am actually doing to build this out is I have the US states defined. This is available in Superstore data. If you're using the hex map, I'm just using a quick calculation to build this out, using a case statement, defining what the state is, and then applying a numeric value across the XY axis. So just think of this as just plotting this on a scatter plot, just using the XY axis and defining these characteristics. So I do this for the X and the Y, I drag these in. And then what I typically like to do, define based on the size that I'm using or defining the graphic, I'll make a fixed XY value. So I'll start with -1, -9. So this can be done for US states or other grid systems. And in doing so, this will give you a similar US map that's hex based. Like I said, I've done this for demo purposes, I blew that up. I've done this for the US hex map. I've done this in a square grid, and you can even do this in like a triangle grid that's on a rank system. So there's a lot of flexibility and capabilities you can do using the rank XY coordinates. I have a good understanding of like flat longs working in GIS, so this has kind of been like pretty easy for me to understand and build out. But it's once you get the hang of it, it's really easy to do. The other thing we can go into is about navigation. So these actually buttons up here are actually images. So one cool thing you can do this, I'll get these from like Icons 8 or other applications, download these and build them out. These are buttons you can create, use actions and action parameters to click on and actually go between the different varying pages. I have these synced to Tableau Public so they can work interactively, but say like you're working on the job, you can actually do this in a similar fashion to like work with all like your in workbook navigations or like other external workbooks that are on the same server to connect to other pages that maybe your user may have an interest in seeing or have an understanding of. The last thing we can go into, and I'll go back to the slides here, is color. I like to find my own color palette. What I currently do is I start with a color idea. I'll test it out and always make variations and shifts. Just kind of always go back to the drawing board. But one thing I found benefit is to use some resources like Color Hexa, or Cooler apps, where you can actually, honestly, if you just want to take the hex code that you want to start with, type it in, search it in Google, you'll see all these websites pop up. I'll typically click on one of them, like Hex or Hexia, and from there I can actually get complementary colors, different shades. I typically like to use this if I have my base colors set up. I want to get variation shades so I can show some differences that are kind of subtle in the dashboard. As you can see, like I did create, like for this, create my own design catalog color system. So I have a base design catalog and a design catalog plus, where I have tinted variations. So this kind of helps that you can represent that color without having to use transparency, because when you use transparency, then it almost makes your images see-through. This kind of brings the transparency without making it see-through using the different tints. So this is kind of a good way to approach about building out your own color system. And I even think in Tableau, like version I saw in 2025.3, that they're coming out with a better way to manage this color system, so you won't actually have to use this color preference ad hoc tool. But if you want to know how to build out your custom Tableau color palette, just search in Google custom Tableau color palette, and you'll give you the first thing you'll see is how to do this, how to add it to your preference and build out your own design catalog or design colors. It's really just building in, you're getting the HTML colors and applying it into a kind of a simple code in your preferences. But hopefully forward, this should be easier to use. You just may need to start using your HTML colors and applying and picking the colors you want to use. So from there, if you liked what you saw on my Tableau board, I have 4 pages you can go out and dissect, download, and kind of see how to build out those different visuals and different dashboards. Like I said, I tried to make it very specific to the Superstore and make it less, you need to add these additional workbooks or Excel sheets. It's all standard to the Tableau Superstore, and you should be able to build it on any of the Tableau Superstores that you have. But I do have this bonus viz out there. So this is based on the feedback that I got from my first design viz catalog. I kind of built out this bonus visual where it was based on the bar design catalog. So this is a similar catalog that shows the representation about how to build out a bunch of different bar charts. What are some alternatives to those bar charts? This is a collection of the different bar charts ranked from beginner to advanced. So it's something that users can go on and test to see if they can build certain aspects of it, learn new things, learn which charts could be done, similarly. If you look at this, like right-hand side, you have a waterfall built out here, but also a tree map and a pie chart. Those are really representing the same information, just in 3 different versions of charts. So if you have an interest, go out to my Tableau Public site, and you can check out the design catalog and even this bonus design viz. Thanks again for y'all's time. If I'm always open to connect or offer advice. We can connect on LinkedIn, or you can just follow me on Tableau Public. And that QR code goes to my LinkedIn site if you want to connect. Thanks, guys.
Well, thanks, John. I mean, first off, I really love the way that you joined all 4 of them together with the buttons on top. It really makes it easy to navigate between them and get to the whole design catalog. You're just going to have to build another button, though, for that bonus catalog. Maybe hide it somewhere as a Easter egg or something.
That's a good idea. I did not connect that thought.
I'm sure we'll have to see how to do that. Those special vizzes. So of all of this, which ones were sort of hard to build out or had limitations due to the design elements of Tableau Public? Did anything really constrain you compared to regular Tableau desktop? Or
Yeah, I think there are a few that were could have been restrained. So like one of them that I could not figure out a way to do this with Tableau calculations with this waffle chart. This was the one where I could not actually define how to build this out without using like an ad hoc Excel file to bring in and join the data together. This is one example of this. Another one, like I mentioned, is there are some limitations to like the population chart. This one is based off of 3 charts and then some text containers. So this is not something you can build right out of the block, but it kind of can be done bringing in a bunch of different containers together as you would with like a KPI or other aspect.
okay. All right. So if you build your own Viz of the day, pick something that is timely and topical, highlights a new Viz or feature, like a Viz extension, and then spotlight the diverse Tableau community or include a novel chart type like we saw many of today, and communicates a key insider story. But most importantly of all, make it visually stunning, and we'll hopefully have you on a future version of the Tableau Public Tug. Next month, we're going to have Cecilia Fryer, who is a education ambassador. So she's going to talk to us about her journey with Tableau and Tableau Public. And Agata is going to show us her latest Viz of the day. And then we're still talking with a couple of other presenters on getting another Viz of the day. So join us next month on January 15th. And we'll have several more cool Vizes for you to view and enjoy. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.